Gentlemen, and welcome to Oldham County Fiscal Court. I'm David Vogel, the Judge Executive. Happy to have you here this morning on September 27th for the special called meeting of the court. If you're able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tara, will you please call the roll?
Magistrate Likens.
Here.
Magistrate Tice.
Here.
Magistrate Woosley. Here. Magistrate Jeffries.
Here.
Magistrate Hounds.
Here.
Magistrate Hawkins.
Here.
Magistrate Dye.
Present.
Magistrate Logston.
Here.
Judge Vogel.
Here. Having all members of the fiscal court present, this meeting is now in session. Is there a motion to accept the agenda?
So moved. Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
The agenda cannot be changed. It's been posted for 24 hours, and there are no additions or deletions. All right, first item on the agenda today is public comment. Does someone here have something they'd like to address the court with?
Judge Becky Zockline, Oldham County Solid Waste and Recycling. I'd like to take this opportunity to remind both the public and the fiscal court of our upcoming household hazardous waste collection event. It will be Saturday, October 7th, the first Saturday in October. And I want to especially bring your attention to our new and permanent location at the Oldham County Road Department. This is the same road that goes to the Buckner YMCA. I encourage folks to come in the afternoon, even though it is from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., simply because we will be competing with traffic going to the YMCA for soccer games, et cetera. At any rate, there's a list of acceptable items. We also encourage folks to leave their latex or water-based paints and motor oil at home and find other ways to dispose of them. I encourage you, the fiscal court, to use whatever method you have available to get this information out to your constituents, and I appreciate that in advance. Do you have any questions?
Magistrate Hounds.
Can you email this page to us?
I can.
In a PDF or whatever, doesn't matter. Thank you.
Magistrate Jeffries.
Just a couple of questions. I noticed you say pesticides, herbicides, and fertilizer. Is there a quantity limit?
No.
Okay, so if a farm has some leftover pesticides, they can bring it, or
Yes.
herbicides? Okay. And then, but you're not accepting any electronics?
Not at this event. We will
Okay.
have an e-scrap event on March 23rd
Right. Okay.
next year.
Thank you.
So
Magistrate Hawkins.
I know you kind of talked about soccer for a second. That's going to be most busy with the soccer games at about what time, do you think?
Probably the first hour from 9 to 10.
Okay. So 10 to 3 would maybe be preferable?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Becky.
Thank you.
Anyone else to address the fiscal court during our open comment session? Seeing no one, I'll close that. Go on to the first item on the agenda today, and that's the MOU for the Ballardsville Fire Department.
Thank you, Judge. If technology is going to work. So, should have put these in the right order. This MOU is in reference to a tower that we're going to talk about next for the emergency services. This MOU is between Ballardsville Fire and Oldham County Fiscal Court. You all received a copy of the MOU. Here is a copy of the MOU, and it has been signed by Doug, who is the chairperson of the Ballardsville Fire Department. The MOU was written by the county attorney and approved. You should have that page in your link. and I'll entertain any questions to the MOU. Basically, what it says is that the county is going to put the infrastructure in and make Ballardsville whole. We're going to have to use their dumpster pad, and we're going to put the tower in. There'll be a fence put around it at the county's expense, and we will re-pour the dumpster pad for the fire department once the project's complete. One of the questions that I got is, why don't we re-pour the dumpster pad at the time we pour the concrete for the tower? We don't want to do that because we don't want something happening to the dumpster pad during construction and then have to have a discussion about fixing the dumpster pad. So we'll pour the dumpster pad at the end of the project. I believe we agreed to 180 days or something after the project's complete to pour the dumpster pad for the fire department.
I have a
All right.
question.
Magistrate Jeffries.
Just one thing, Chris, on page 4 of the MOU, just a minor thing I'd like to suggest, where it says for Ballardsville Fire, Rural Fire Protection District, Doug Wingert, Board Chair. Could we add Doug Wingert or his successor, like we have with, our county attorney? Because 5 years down the road, if he's, he might not still be chairman. So I would just suggest that we add that language to that document, Mr. Baxter.
I'm sure that wouldn't be objectionable to the fire department, so.
Okay.
All right.
I can make
First of
that,
all, we had a motion to accept this in the second? I don't think we did. You
I'll
wanna
make that motion, Judge.
I'll second it.
All right, all right. Magistrate Logson.
Yes, I have a question on if we're going to need a different generator or not. Do we not know ahead if that's going to be enough to power the cell tower and what the fire department needs? Or is this just something we're going to have to end up buying as a new generator?
Is your mic on, Michael?
For both of them.
so at this time, Ballardsville Fire has a generator that we believe will have sufficient power. The system will have a battery backup system also, because you can't have any interruption in the electricity. So at this time, we believe we've got sufficient power there. If we determine that not to be sufficient power in the future, then we'll have to make other arrangements. But we believe with the battery backup, we're going to be okay. It's not a cell tower. It is only a radio tower. There's only radio equipment on the tower.
Magistrate Hawkins.
It says that Oldham County will be responsible to maintain the tower under number 5. Who specifically, which department specifically would that fall under?
It would fall under dispatch.
Okay.
Magistrate Likens.
Thank you, Judge. Magistrate Hounds, are they going to put a dumpster enclosure around the dumpster? I mean, people don't like to look at dumpsters.
It's already, today it's just a pad. You can't see it from the road. You've got to go behind the firehouse. I can show you.
Okay.
I can show you a picture here of if you see that in pink, the pink to the right,
So it's pretty far.
it's pretty far back. I mean, here's 53, there's a tree line. I mean, you have to drive behind the firehouse in order to see it. And they don't have a fence around it today.
Just one last.
Magistrate Logston.
I just have one last comment. Chris, you and I talked about this before, but and it might not be able to be negotiated, but I would love to see in the contract where if something ever is hung on that radio tower, that the money that generates from that would come back to pay the county back first before we split between us and Ballardsville. But I don't know if you can get that done or not, if you try to negotiate that. I would just love to see the county get their money back before we start splitting things, if something ever is hung on that tower.
All right.
Best way I can answer that question is there are no intentions by either entity to co-locate any equipment on the tower. And that's for various reasons. One is we're not building the tower to co-locate equipment. That would be an increased expense. We are building the tower that if there is additional radio equipment needed in the future, not sure what that radio equipment would be, but there will be capacity for that. But there is not intention by either entity to co-locate equipment on the tower.
I mean, the contract does state that we will, well, actually, it's very vague, because it could end up being anything, because it says the Ballardsville will negotiate what the percentage would be. So, I don't know. It's like an open-ended contract to me. I mean, I think it should be, if you're going to put anything in there, it should be split 50-50 or whatever, instead of something that's going to be negotiated down the road. Because then it could end up being anything, but just my 2 cents.
Well, I have a comment also about item 7 on the second page. It almost, it borders on being contradictory in my mind. It says the use of the towers for the sole benefit of Oldham County Dispatch, and related emergency services, and cannot be leased or sold to another party without prior written consent. Well, if the tower is used for anything else, then we got to have an agreement. Why do we even need that in there if it's not going to be used for any co-locators? I mean, it says for the sole use of Oldham County Dispatch. But then we go on and say, well, if it is used for something else, we're going to have a negotiation. That seems contradictory to me.
Judge, I was trying to cover all the bases, and I knew Magistrate Logston was going to raise the issue, so I'll call that the Magistrate Logston phrase.
Well, why don't we just say it's for the sole use of Oldham County Dispatch or Oldham County government, period? Why do we have to have any reference to anybody else in there?
Judge, actually, that change came at the request of the fire department, as I recall. So there was information in there about this, and they had asked if at some point that something else gets hung on the tower, that AT&T puts something on there, that they want to be able to negotiate part of the amount coming to them. And when I got the markup back from Chris yesterday, I believe they had changed that paragraph to read in that fashion. That was to satisfy their concerns, I believe.
The issue the thing we have to think about is the tower is going to be on Ballardsville's property, but the tower itself is the property of Oldham County Fiscal Court. So I've spoken to one tower company, and they said, well, we wouldn't co-locate on the tower unless we got permission from Oldham County Fiscal Court, because it's your tower, even though it's on Ballardsville's property. So it's going to be hopefully a never future conversation if there is anything that's co-located on the tower.
Well, it still doesn't, I don't think, addresses the point that, I'm stuck on here, is that why do we say there's any possibility of anybody else co-locating on there? Just eliminate that possibility. It's for county emergency services only, period.
Again, Judge, I'd be...
So no one else can come along and say, we're going to co-locate there. No, you can't.
Judge, I agree with you, but again, I was trying to address other people's concerns that they thought that...
Well, it would seem to me if we said for emergency services only, there wouldn't be anybody else, any need to be any further concern.
Judge,
I mean, maybe.
I tend to agree with what you're saying here, but on the flip side of that, I believe that even if you said today that we're not going to be no open door for something to be put on that tower, but 10 years down the road, somebody may bring it up and say, well, we'll give you X number of dollars, and we'd figure out the share between us and the fire department, and we're looking at, and not we, this group, but this court will be looking at themselves and say, well, you can always have that. Can't you always just renegotiate that part? You can take it out now and renegotiate it later, or leave it in now, and it may never be used later. So, I mean, I see both sides of it.
Judge,
Magistrate Woosley.
I have, my previous career, we've built dozens of these towers across the state. We've had contracts pretty similar to this, and at no point did the property owner ever retain the rights to anything that went on the tower. The tower belonged to the agency that built the tower. And I don't think it's appropriate to put that language in there, giving them the authority to approve anything that goes on this tower without the language of also adding and/or fiscal court, or just and fiscal court. So I'd be in favor of either striking that whole section or adding fiscal court to it so that they're not the only ones out there trying to negotiate a contract with anybody. The tower is only 190 feet self-sustaining, so you're not going to be able to put a whole lot of equipment on there in addition to what we've got on there anyways. So I don't know that it's going to be a problem long-term, but to protect fiscal court, I think that we should either take that line out or add in fiscal court.
You want to make a motion to amend the original motion, Judge?
All right, well, if, this Magistrate Hounds, are you comfortable with any, deletion or change in this paragraph?
Well, Judge, since I'm not a party to this, indirectly, I think if we were to strike from the words without to the end of the paragraph, I would ask.
Right, just say, cannot be leased or sold to another party, period.
Period, yes.
Period. Just delete the rest of the paragraph, and it should satisfy Ballardsville. If a circumstance ever comes up where something is justified to talk about putting on that tower, they can come back and this MOU can be amended. Wouldn't that be fair? Okay, Magistrate Jeffries?
Just a concern, and maybe our county attorney could answer this, but this is an MOU, memorandum of understanding. Can we modify this without concurrence or consent from the other party?
They haven't signed it yet.
No. Both parties have to be in agreement for there to be a change to it. So, I understand what you're all saying. To me, it's kind of a distinction without a difference. Both parties got to agree to it anyway. So if we get approached by AT&T about wanting to hang something on that tower, if the language is taken out and it says use of the tower and associated equipment will be for the sole benefit of OC dispatch and related emergency services and cannot be leased and sold to another party, period, then, they come and say, we'll give you $1 million if we can hang something on there. And we would have to go to them, just like what it says in here. We have to go to them and ask them for permission to be able to hang it. But if that's what you all want to take that language out, I don't think it ultimately makes it any difference in how the thing gets administered. But you can take it out, and if we get that $1 million offer, we can call them up and ask them what they want to do. So,
But if we did take it out, then if Ballardsville says, no, I don't agree to that, then we don't have an MOU, a valid MOU with the Ballardsville Fire Department.
correct. We can't unilaterally change this without getting their assent to the change.
Correct.
I guess as I'm reading this now I've read this countless times, and people have pointed out punctuation, and I get it. If you read something multiple times, you can't see the forest through the trees. But as I'm reading this now, I guess the way I look at it is it's still, both parties have to agree to it and for something to happen. And if we leave the language in there, I think it covers us on both. It covers Ballardsville and it covers Oldham County at the same time because, again, both parties have to agree to it. It is kind of redundant, but I don't think it's going to put us in a position by leaving the language in there that's going to change anything going forward in the future. It's an MOU. It's a memorandum of understanding.
Would you be okay with just adding, after that sentence which says so to another party without the prior written consent of Ballardsville Board and Fiscal Court? So that way it doesn't.
But I'll throw that at the county attorney, and his comment was we can't make modifications to this without their approval.
But we could give the judge approval today to sign it as we changed it and then sends it back to the board for their
The problem, though, is this is a domino effect. We got to get this approved to go to the next page. And if we muddy the water, then is somebody going to say we can't go forward? And
I can't imagine why they would object to deleting the language there when they didn't want it to be. They wanted protection from somebody going on there anyway. I agree that it's almost a difference without, it's just repetitive. It's a contradictory statement. It's solely for this group here, but if we decide to put somebody else in there, then we've all got to agree. Well, I mean, I don't think if it's going to gum up the thing today, I'm willing, for my part, willing to let it go forward. But I don't like it. I think it is it's just stupid, frankly, because it doesn't. It just. I'm going to marry you, but if I divorce you later, you owe me this money. I mean, it's.
Judge, somebody from AT&T may be able to shed some, Motorola, sorry, may be able to shed some light on it.
Sure, come right to the front here.
Did he just call them AT&T?
Judge, counsel.
state your name and
Prash Ramani from Motorola Solutions. I'm the area sales manager for the region. I just wanted to clarify one comment from Magistrate Woosley is that this tower is designed only for this equipment, this radio equipment. There is not capacity on a self-supporting tower for any cell site, or if a AT&T or Verizon were to come in, there is not enough capacity. It would pass the structural analysis to hold that equipment. It is only designed for this specific purpose. I do agree that it was probably put in just to cover your bases, but just know that if AT&T were to knock on your door tomorrow asking to put a cell site up and pay you $1 million a year, it's not physically possible without massive structural rehaul or putting a new site up in general. So I just wanted to clarify that from an engineering standpoint. It is only meant for this radio equipment.
All right. Good comment. Thank you.
you.
All right. So, nothing else can go on there anyway. So I think, we should stop after with the phrase, cannot be leased or sold to another party, period. Since nothing else can fit on there anyway. And then we can go forward with everything today, take it back to Ballardsville, say we've modified this a little bit. What is your objection? Nothing else fits on there anyway. So I don't see any, Ballardsville is a cooperative fire department in our county. I don't see any objection to them whatsoever. This was just a phrase that they accepted to protect their own interest, and but there isn't really going to be anything to protect because nothing else will fit on there.
I would tend to agree with you, Judge. I think we need to do that because in the future, we're not going to be here to memorialize that statement that gentleman just made. It's probably not going to be written anywhere that this is a one only item tire. And I can just imagine 10 years now, 5 years from now, that somebody.
It is in the document.
It is.
Yeah, in the 150.
Well, I didn't read all 168 pages of that contract.
And just to clarify, I was specifically speaking to the point of an AT&T coming in, right? That is a very popular topic, and the equipment they'd put on there is far too large for this type of tower. There could be a case where you may need to add another antenna or another radio tower, an RF tower for a radio system. Those are a lot lighter weight, a lot less footprint. So there would still have to be a reanalysis done to see if the tower can handle it, and it very well could. It could be, for example, Ballardsville Fire wants to do a small backup system, so they need to just put one tower or one antenna up there, right? The tower can probably handle that, but it's not going to be something where a large commercial carrier is going to come in and put several thousand pounds of equipment on there.
Well, if Ballardsville wants to add something to it, the item 7 covers that. It says dispatch and related emergency services.
Sure.
So I think they would fall into that category.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Magistrate Hawkins.
Regarding this subject, it would seem to me that the board would have wanted that language in there so that in the future, they would receive a percentage of the proceeds if there should be some. I think that would be kind of a hot topic for their board to say, oh, no, we've decided we don't want that now. It just seems like that would be
Well,
something that
we've
they may
already
not be
covered that
agreeable
ground,
to.
magistrate, and said nothing else could fit on there.
Well, a backup or,
Well, he referred to Ballardsville adding an antenna. It's different than, we're not going to let anything else on there.
I don't see, I'm just saying, I don't see where their board would be agreeable to taking that out,
You don't see that where they would be agreeable to it?
to taking that language out. I think that it would be more favorable to them to have that language left in for the future. Like Magistrate Dye said, we may not be here when that could happen in the future.
Well, when that happens, everybody can come back and amend this agreement. You know, it says if it says it's for our sole use, nothing else is going to go on there without their agreement anyway. So, the agreement can be amended.
Judge,
Sure,
is
go
there a
ahead.
time constraint that we cannot table this until
Yes.
the method of memorandum of understanding is changed?
Yes, there is
We
a
have
time
to.
constraint. That's
we
why
have
we're
to do
having a
this?
special meeting today.
This is why. Okay, thank you.
Judge, I texted the chairman of the board, and obviously he's at his full-time job, so I don't know if he will text me back, but,
We need to move forward. Let's just, I mean, what
I'm fine with leaving it the
what
way it
is the problem here? I can't see what the problem is, frankly. We just need to delete that language. It's for our sole use, and period. Nothing else is going to come up. I can't imagine the Ballardsville Fire Department is going to have a problem with that. They wanted this other provision in there to protect them. When we say it's for our sole use only, that's our sole use. So I don't think, can't imagine that
I'm
any
just
of the
going back.
trustees are going to have an issue there.
Judge, can we vote on this conditionally with that language being removed? To go ahead and
Yes,
get
I
this
think we
done
can.
today?
I think we can.
That's not the motion I made. You'd have to amend the motion. Judge, I earlier said I can see it both ways, but you got to have an agreement between Ballardsville and us to do anything additional on that tower, be it AT&T or be it just their own little antenna. So
No,
it's-
that's not correct. It says related emergency services. It's for the use of
Okay, then I'll
Oldham County
re-
Dispatch and related emergency services, and that's certainly a related emergency service.
I'll retract the Ballardsville comment, or something else. We don't know what the future is going to bring as far as antennas and stuff like that. They may make them out of stuff that's really light and it would pass a stress test or whatever test you're talking about. It still has to be agreed by both parties, so I don't know why we just can't let this go and move on to the other thing, because this is all about getting us and the fire department on the same page. But the bottom line is, as you've stated many times, public safety is paramount in this county. We need to have this tower to make our system complete. So I mean, I'll run the risk with my vote and say, let's just go with what we've got here, because you still have to have. And I agree with you; it does look redundant, but I think we're muddying the water here when I don't think we need to. So that's all I'm going to say about it. I'd like to see us move on too, Judge.
Well, I don't think it looks redundant. I think it looks contradictory.
Okay.
But, I mean, is it worth arguing any
I'll
further
agree with-
about it? I don't know.
I'll give in to contradictory.
Measure Jeffries.
Yeah, Judge, I think we just, let's vote on this, and then if we've got enough support, then we move on to the contract or whatever. But, I think we need to, I certainly concur with our county attorney that this would be a change in the MOU, and I think that, we're taking a risk here that Ballardsville would accept that language. I mean, I would agree with you, Judge, that I don't think that that's a big change, but it is a change. And so I think our county attorney says that, that has to be, both parties have to agree to any language change. So why don't we, I would suggest that we go ahead and vote on this and see where the court is. And then, if it does not pass, then we'd have to go back and modify it.
Well, why can't we just go ahead and change it and then send it back to Ballardsville?
Because then we don't have an MOU to go to the next step of the project. And it was requested that we have an MOU with Ballardsville before we entertain the contract with Motorola.
Well, I don't think there's anybody on the court that's going to vote against the tower going up there.
You want to call for the, somebody call for the
It's just the
question.
wording that's in there.
I call for the question.
All right, we call for the question. That means we'll take a vote on stopping debate. Would you, Tara, please call the roll.
So the motion was.
This is a
accept it as
motion to
is.
stop
motion to
talking
stop.
about this and take a vote. But it's not the vote. It's just if we're going to stop talking about it.
Magistrate Tice.
Yeah, I'm in favor of not stop voting. Stop talking.
Magistrate Jeffries.
Yes.
Magistrate Hawkins.
No.
Magistrate Dye.
Yes.
Magistrate Likens.
Yes.
Magistrate Woosley.
Yes.
Magistrate Logsdon.
Yes.
Judge Vogel.
Yes, motion carries 8-1. Now we've got a motion on the floor and a second to approve this. Will you take a second roll call vote, please?
Magistrate Dye.
Yes.
Magistrate Likens.
Yes.
Magistrate Jeffries.
Yes.
Magistrate Hawkins.
Yes.
Magistrate Hounds.
Yes.
Magistrate Woosley.
Yes.
Magistrate Logsdon.
Yes.
Magistrate Tice.
Yes.
Judge Vogel.
Yes. Okay. Motion carries 9-0. All right, thank you. We'll let that go and
Move on.
move on. All
Okay.
right, now we're on to the contract with Motorola.
So just a little bit of history, so everybody knows that we're going to, scope of the project is to build a 190-foot tower to be erected at Ballardsville Fire Station 1. We want to keep it under 200 feet because it removes the lighting requirements for aircraft. The towers will be in the rear of the building. I've got a picture where the proposed tower to go. Equipment to be placed on the tower and tied into provided space inside of Ballardsville's firehouse. Backup supply currently by Ballardsville Fire Department. Possible locations that were studied, Ballardsville Fire Station 2. Reason couldn't go there, was not a land available to put the antenna, and then putting it on top of the building was not feasible. Water tower essentially at 393 and 22. That water tank is loaded, and there's other logistics issues with putting an antenna on top of a water tower. Water tower at Ballardsville Station 1. Logistically, this was going to be difficult because of power constraints and some other things that we had to figure out. And as we started going down that path, it just became more and more difficult. Cell tower at Centerfield. Again, to co-locate on a cell tower has its own set of issues. One of those issues being the height that we needed to be was not available on that cell tower. OCD wave tower and MSD tower, we're going to have additional equipment installed at all those locations for connectivity to the new tower. Connectivity between the Ballardsville Fire, the wave tower, and OCD will be done via AT&T FiberLink. There'll be a MRC monthly reoccurring charge of about $1,100 a month. A point-to-point network, which would have been using our own assets, was not an option due to tower height. Project schedule will be developed between Oldham County and Motorola. Tentative expected to be a 12-month project. Counties to provide the fencing around the 30 by 30 foot pad and to provide electrical service connection point, meaning we're going to have to go inside Ballardsville's firehouse and build a small service. Benefits the project: increased coverage for all first responders, increased coverage in the Centerfield and Northeast Oldham County, increased coverage in Shelby County and Henry County, which our EMS and fire departments have mutual aid response in those counties. Creates a redundancy for OCD and first responders. Communication will be greatly limited if we were to have issue with the wave tower, which we've already experienced. And this will give Oldham County backup coverage with little or no interruption in service. By the way, that was put together by Bo Glass before he went on vacation. This just gives you some information. This is the last report, director's report, that was provided by Director Glass. You can see the number of calls. Everything that's a dispatched run, there was talk on a radio, everything on the police and the fire side and EMS. This is a tower location. This is Ballardsville Station 1, and where you can see the larger square is about the location where the tower will be built. This just gives you some idea of how it's going to look. I apologize, I didn't cut that off, but trying to get it to pull. There we go. You can see there's the wave tower, the fiber link, the new self-supported tower, back to dispatch and MSD. This is a site map that we have today where you see shaded areas. This is the before. And you can see where it's not pink, that's where we have some coverage issues. And then you can see once we add the Ballardsville Tower, a considerable amount of those issues turn pink, which means we have coverage. The system was designed when it was designed several years ago to use the radio similar to this one, which is a handheld radio that everybody carries. Not necessarily that version, but most everybody carries that version of the radio. We do also utilize this MSD tower that's over here on the far left. That tower, basically we're going to create a big triangle, MSD to wave to Ballardsville, and then you've got dispatch over here in the middle. We do not have antenna assets on the OCD tower. It's merely a transmit point to the wave tower. This is the MOU that we've already talked about. Spin through that. So this is the document that everybody at Fiscal Court was sent. Myself and Evan worked on this document with Bo Glass and Deputy Judge Nuss. This is the full document, it's like 158 pages. We chose not to give you guys all that information because, to be honest with you, there's not many people in the room that would understand it, including myself. It just gives you a little bit more information about what's going to be installed and a little more information about the coverage maps, about the implementation plan, and some assumptions that were made. And then we get to the final piece to the puzzle, which is the dollars and cents. So the tower cost is $2,299,000. If you'll see in there in red, there are some discounts that are going to be given to us. Magistrate Jeffries pointed out this morning that the contract to be signed by 9/22/2023. Evan with Motorola can speak to this. We spoke on the phone when we figured out we weren't going to make the 9/22 deadline, and he ran it up the chain of command and said that we have until essentially today to get this piece signed.
Yes, that's correct.
So our intention was, we were trying to push this through and get it signed off as quickly as possible, trying to get the MOU done and the county attorney comfortable with 158 pages. Logistically, things just did not fall into place exactly how we wanted to. That's why we are where we are today with this meeting. So I can answer some questions, but I brought backup. The three folks from Motorola here can answer if we get into questions that are over my head, which would not be very many questions, I'm sure.
Judge, I move that we approve this contract with Motorola for the tire at the
Second.
Ballardsville Fire Department.
All right.
For the cost of $2.299 million. What I'm not sure if this number, Chris, you can answer the question now while I'm doing this motion, is the 588, the second, the warranty, is that part of this 2.299?
No, sir.
And then also the warranty information, which was provided for the cost of $588,857. That's for a 5-year warranty, right?
That's correct, but it's not, it would be paid at each one of those points, the 2-year, the 3-year.
Right, but you got to approve that number today. It's going to be paid out at different fiscal years.
Well, I'm perfectly fine with that, but our plan was we would just put those numbers in the preceding budgets. But if you want to put that in the form of a motion, rock on.
Well, we can't discuss it. You have the motion. So there you go.
Second.
Manager Logston.
Well, I had a few questions on the contract price, but you've basically answered those for me. So it's really going to cost more than Well, I have a couple of questions. We were rushed into this thing today, I feel like, because we were going to lose this $35,000 if we didn't sign by a certain date. So now the date is today. So why couldn't we have redone our contract with Ballardsville and still kept this $35,000? But that's beside the point. So now there's a bigger issue that came up when you were talking. This map, if you go back to the maps, you're saying that I thought this cell tower or this tower was going to solve all of our problems. So according to this map, what you just said, if you look, if you can go back to the maps,
Give a page number.
map 1 and 2. So if I understood you correctly, when you gave your explanation of this map, this is just going to make this area right here in Ballardsville, the reception
No, sir.
better there. Because if you look at your other map, you still have areas in the county, like over in Westport, that don't have reception. Is that correct, according to this map?
It's not that they don't have reception. It's that so this is, the map that you're looking at is inbound traffic with 95% reliability. And I can let the Motorola people speak more to this, but there is coverage in those areas. And if you think the Ballardsville map, the Ballardsville tower is going to help Westport, it's not. The wave tower is what is powering most area of Westport. But just because it's shaded doesn't mean necessarily that there's not coverage. There is coverage there. It's just not at this 95% level at the 6 dB.
So these maps were chosen to show, so this is 6 dB loss, which is the average building loss for a standard residential building. So these maps were chosen rather than give you every possible scenario. So mobile coverage is going to be way better than this. Even on-street coverage is going to be better than this. This is the coverage maps shown here are for inside a residential building.
But will it solve our problems?
What's your name? Can you repeat your name?
Sorry. My name's Evan Truman. I'm with Motorola Solutions, the account manager for this region.
In order to solve all of our problems, we would have to do this times 3.
Is that the same map?
So and this is sufficient. I mean, the radio system currently works in Westport. To Evan's point, it works probably 99% of the time on street. It's when you get inside of a building that sometimes it's not perfect. But I will say this. Having used the radio system now for multiple years, I tend to believe that Motorola's maps are on the conservative side because we do see coverage areas better than what we see in this picture. It's
Yes.
not worse.
So we have a standard that we create these coverage maps to. So it's 3.4 delivered audio quality. So that's a standard that we must meet. So that's a particular audio quality that you're going to receive at the end of that subscriber unit. So
okay.
you can still hear it. It may just not be quite as crisp as that 3.4 delivered
So
audio quality.
is this system being built for the fire department or for all first responders, including the police officers? Because you're saying that inside the building you might not get. So is this just for the radios of the fire department, or is this for the police also?
It'll work for both.
Okay.
The system does not designate between police, fire, EMS. It doesn't care.
Well, I didn't know. I don't know what radios you carry and what the officers carry.
They carry this same radio except it's in black.
Okay.
Yep, it can all hear that same tower. So.
The good part about the radio system is today, and since it's been delivered, when you push the push to talk button, you get the tone that says, "Hey, you're on the system." If you don't get that tone, it doesn't matter what you say; it doesn't go on the system. So the officer, firefighter, EMT, paramedic is going to know immediately if the radio doesn't work. And you can do things, same thing with your cell phone. Turn, walk 5 feet, and it'll work. I mean, it's essentially a cell phone with an antenna.
Well, I mean, if the contract could be negotiated where we could change the date that's on this right now, I wish we could have waited for a few more days to get Ballardsville to add that one sentence in there and then had this accepted at the same time.
Which sentence?
Where we wanted to change a sentence about fiscal court being
Well, you
so.
wouldn't have known that 3 days from now, because it hadn't happened.
No, I'm saying, we didn't have to need to be rushed into the day to do this. If you can
Measure
change
logs
that
and
date
try-
now that says 9/22 to 9/28, whatever today, it's 9/27, we could have extended this a little bit more to work out that contract.
Manager
That's just
Luxon,
my
the
opinion.
the logistics of trying to get all this stuff taken care of, I apologize, it doesn't meet your requirements, but it's the best that we
It
can
was
do with the people that
one
we have.
sentence that we wanted to change in here.
You wouldn't have known that sentence was there. You'd be right back here again. No, you wouldn't.
Magistrate Woosley.
So I'll remind fiscal court, this whole tower placement was, is being done because we got a request from Centerfield Elementary that their SROs didn't have coverage inside their building.
Why would you say that?
So Chris Hounds and the Public Safety Committee did their work on what would be needed to get coverage inside that building. And I'm looking at your promulgation studies that they just had up here, and it was very little coverage in the area of Centerfield Elementary before, and the majority of it is covered now. There's still some white spots that are not at 100%, but for the most part, this will cover the whole area around Centerfield Elementary.
Just to clarify again, this is for a standard residential building, so we can't guarantee coverage for one particular building, but it will provide additional coverage, better coverage in that region.
Understand. And if you're deep in the bowels of Centerfield Elementary, you're probably not going to be able to get out just
That's
like you wouldn't
correct.
on your cell phone, as Magistrate Hound said. But if you move and walk down a hallway a little bit, you're going to get service.
Correct.
So this covers and takes care of our issue there of the school system not having radio coverage inside that building for the most part.
It does alleviate it.
Okay.
Yes, correct.
My question on the tower, if we will, 190-foot, self-supporting, comes with ice bridges. The cases, you're not going with a typical case. You're calling it cabinets in here. So are they bulletproof, the hardened steel with
So-
AC?
Those do have AC. They will be located inside of the fire station, so they are not bulletproof, but they'll be inside a building. So hopefully there's no concerns with that inside the fire station. So.
I'm sure the fire station knows that we're putting these inside their building.
Yes, yeah.
How big are these cabinets? Because I know the building is like 8 by 8, but
Yeah, it's roughly 6 foot tall, maybe 6.5, and then there's
3 sections? so
yeah
it's-
3 sections. I would say 6 to 8 feet wide.
We marked out a corner in the firehouse that we would put the cabinets to keep it out of the way of the fire department and keep it as secure as possible on Motorola's. But the cabinets are going to be locked inside the firehouse, so the person's got to get inside the firehouse, get back to where the cabinets are, get into the cabinets. I mean, it just,
are they on a separate electrical circuit, or are we using Ballardsville Electric and then their
Ballardsville's
generator?
electric. And Ballardsville generator, yeah.
I'm in favor of it. I think it's well needed and will help with the coverage in that area. So,
Magistrate Likens.
Yes, Judge. I just had a question. I forgot your name, young man, again.
Evan Truman.
What was the percentage of coverage before and after this tower? I mean, were we 90% covered, now we're 95?
I do not have that specific number. I can get that, but I'll have to reach back to our engineer to determine the exact percentage.
I'm just trying to get sticker shock on the price tag of this thing. With everything included, is close to $3 million. So we need to look at every angle of this. Thank you.
Magistrate Jeffries.
Just a couple things. On the backhaul for the 3 towers, there will be fiber available at all 3 towers, and that's what they'll use for the backhaul for the signals?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay.
Through AT&T. So.
Okay. And we currently have, or will have by the time the tower is built, fiber access at all 3 locations?
We have access currently at 2 of the 3 locations, and the build out with AT&T, they told us it would be shortly. We're probably, Evan, what do you say, 6 to 8 months before we're going to put anything up in the air?
Correct.
So at the end, our theory is, Magistrate, is that the AT&T contract will be completed by that same time, and so the service will be available then at all 3 locations.
Okay. One other question on the post-warranty services and life cycle. I'm a little confused on that. Currently, at the Wave Tower and at, well, I don't know what MSD, what we have with them, but do we have, do we go 5 years, or do we take these numbers and add them all up, and that's the cost? Or is it if we want the 5-year post-warranty services and SUA for year 5, is that the total cost for 5 years of coverage?
So that is for 5 years of coverage. Theoretically, you could split that out, but at that time, so say year 5, you only do year 4. Year 5, you would have to get that readdressed. So the price may go up now, so you'd be locking in those rates per year.
So I guess my question is, if we went with the post-warranty services and SUA for 6 years, the cost is $126,514, not $588,000, or how does that work?
So yes, every year. So for like year 2, year 1's going to be covered by standard warranty and maintenance.
Okay.
So year 2 would be that $109,000 for that entire year, and then year 3, the $113,000.
Okay.
Et cetera, et cetera.
So so the total cost would be for 6 years of coverage, $588,000.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Magistrate Hawkins.
This initially came up because it covers some of my district. I think mine's probably going to be the most beneficial from this. I agree with. I have 2 more points. With Magistrate Logsdon on, it feels like a sales pressure thing, having us come meet today instead of just our regular meeting next Tuesday. So I didn't appreciate that. But I'll also ask the question to Magistrate Woosley, the benefit of advertising where we do and do not have coverage. I just didn't see that benefit, and it could actually be a detriment. But on a side note, they do have some coverage. It just is spotty, and this will make it much more efficient rather than inefficient. So I appreciate what you're doing and just wanted to pose that question.
These are all public record. Anybody could get in here and find out where coverage is. So,
There's
Okay.
Yeah.
so.
Judge,
Magistrate Dye.
this is for Magistrate Likens. If my memory serves me correct, remember the radios? We paid $2.5 million for the radios. So I'm not saying that $2.3 million for the tower is a bargain, but as the judge has pointed out and has been pointed out today, that public safety is number one. And having carried a radio for years as a sheriff's deputy, what you have today is a whole lot nicer than what I had. I worked in Jefferson County, and I couldn't get past Greenwood Road, and I went all the way to West Point. So, you got half your district, you didn't have any radio. So you got out there and got in trouble. You was on your own. Mm-hmm. So the thing is, I don't know if we could work 2 days later and all that, but this is the number. This is what it costs. They gave us a break by extending the line to us. I just said, let's just do it and move on.
Thank you.
All right, is our motion here for the equipment and services, or 9.1 or 9.2 as well? How was that?
It's 2.299, isn't it?
For both? Okay,
Yes,
both
it's for
items,
both.
okay. All right.
Judge, I had another question.
Right.
Whose budget is this in? I mean, this is quite an expenditure.
Dispatch's budget, it is budgeted item.
It is a budgeted item.
Yes, sir.
Right.
It was budgeted at $2.5 million.
It's going to come up a little higher than that, but,
A little bit.
Magistrate Tice had a question. Judge.
go ahead. Magistrate Tice, you have a
Take
question?
it
Then
off.
Miss,
District one's
okay, go ahead.
operation.
Sorry, just wanted to clarify one point on the post-warranty services life cycle. I think Evan touched on it earlier, but just to reiterate, if you were to decide just to go with 0.9.1 here, after year 1, you would have to come back and purchase warranty and life cycle services. At that point, we would have to come up with new pricing, with labor rates, things like that, inflation, things will go up. So by agreeing to 9.2 here today, you'd be locking in that price for the next 5 or 6 years, or I guess up to year 6. And by the way, because this is tying to the Louisville system, they are under a similar life cycle maintenance SUA contract as well. So when they would upgrade their system, you guys would be upgrading your sites and your system as well. We wanted to tie those things together, right? So
And those upgrades go with this price.
correct. In
right.
everything outlined in 9.2.
One of the things that we talked about, Christopher and I talked about earlier, was to help people understand why the cost is. You all are going to replace items before they get to the end of their life cycle because this is a 911 system. You don't want to get the phone call in the middle of the night and say the switch is down. The goal is you're going to replace the switch before it's at the end of its life cycle.
Correct. And just to expand on that, everything in the post-warranty, SUA is system upgrade agreement. So new features, new enhancements, every couple years we schedule an upgrade. We come and do those for you at no additional cost. That also includes, to your point, some equipment that's outlined in the contract that may go out of life, switches, routers. Those get replaced without any intervention by you. It's part of the contract. And then on-site preventative maintenance, things like that, to make sure that the tower is running smoothly. There's no interference. There's no issues with the RF equipment. That is all part of that. And if you were to forego some of that or renegotiate at a later date, it could be more expensive. And if you don't do it at all, then that would be up to your responsibility to maintain that equipment.
Okay. Magistrate Tice and then Magistrate Logston.
And I think you answered this in what you said. At the $2,300,000, that includes the 588.
No.
No, sir, that does not include the 588. That is just the base system price and year one of warranty and maintenance. So then years 2 through 6 would be an additional 588,000 billed annually, by the way. It wouldn't have to be an upfront expenditure. You would be billed those individual amounts each year in advance of that warranty service.
But we'd be obligating ourselves to those each year's up through 6 years. Is that true?
That is correct, yes. So by agreeing to that 588 amount total, you would obligate yourself to be billed annually those amounts stated in the table there.
Okay. Now, and one thing that was said that I heard, and I make sure I've got this right, the security in that building, and we're talking about all of Oldham County, but what this was brought to light a couple of years ago was because our school system is down there in the valley. Once this is done, will we have the same level of security in that school system that we have at regular Oldham County in Buckner? Or did somebody say we may not have the level at the rest of the schools like what's in Buckner and Crestwood?
You're talking about from a radio performance standpoint?
Yes. So if an officer in there and he needs help, he will get the same level of connectivity as what we're going to be getting in Buckner.
Absolutely. And so one thing we want to make sure is clear is, Motorola, and for that matter, anyone that does radio or in the radio business, we cannot guarantee coverage, right? So we can assume with a high probability that by putting a site there, you will have much enhanced coverage in that school. And I believe it was stated earlier that there is coverage in those areas. It's just spotty. By putting a site there, it highly increases your chances. And we can't say with 100% certainty. It's just, it's not possible to predict. There's RF, right? It's frequencies in the air. There's geographical conditions. There's buildings that get put up every now and then, trees, right? So we can't predict with 100% certainty that yes, the coverage will be 100% available, but you are increasing your likelihood by many, many, many times over by putting the site there.
And that's not exactly what I asked. Will that have the same, because Buckner can't be guaranteed the same at 100% all the time. But I just want to make sure that down in Centerfield will have the same level of performance as what we're expecting in Buckner.
I would say yes. Yes, you would have the same level of performance expected. There's just no number that we can put to that at 100%, 90. We can't do that, right? So what you see on the map there is coverage prediction to, I believe, 95% reliability? 95% reliability for any building with 6 dB loss that's like a residential home, right? So if it's built, with 25 layers of brick or, that might change things, right? But that doesn't mean you're not going to have coverage in that building, right?
Now, Magistrate Logston.
So we need to amend the budget by $300,000 then, because we only budgeted $2,500,000 for
No,
this?
don't worry about that at all. Well,
Well, it's
Those
part
are
of the
proceeding,
cost.
we're not going to pay the 588. It's going to come up in the 2025, 2026 budget.
I thought we had to accept it now or it would go up.
No. You're missing the point.
we're going to accept it now, but we're not going to pay it now. We're
Correct.
not going to pay it
Until it's due in the
due in the future, in the subsequent
It's still part
fiscal
of the
year.
cost.
It's not going to be paid or committed. We're just making a commitment.
No, I understand, but it's still part of the cost.
The
Yeah,
budget
but it's
was-
not in the budget.
Correct.
It's not part of this budget.
It's
It'll
not
be-
part of this, but it's
be
still
budget.
costing us almost $3 million.
At the end of the day,
Well,
in one more budget cycle, I guess 2 budget cycles, in Director Glass's budget, he'll have 109,366. Then the following year, he'll have 113, following year 117, going on and going forward. We are agreeing to the amount today to get the best price for the post-warranty services and life cycle that we can get. That's what we're doing today.
I understand, but I was told it was only going to be 2.3, but it's going to end
It
up
is
being
only going
2.8.
to be 2.3.
It's going to end up being 2.8 before it's over.
Well, originally it was going to be a whole lot less, but we didn't know, we just put a number in there just to have a starting point. So,
I would like to know what is the actual date of effectiveness for the warranty?
Acceptance date of the
Correct.
tower.
Yes.
Pardon?
Upon system acceptance.
On system, all right. So we'll have a date and then we'll go forward from there.
Typically, Judge, what happens is they put the tower up and they say all systems are go, and then we do field testing. Agencies will do field testing, report back to Director Glass that field testing has been complete, and then Director Glass would then go to the Motorola people with the acceptance document signed, and then that's when the warranty period would start.
Okay. Magistrate Jeffries.
Just one quick question on the warranty services and the SUA. Does that cover lightning strikes, power surges, things like that? I mean, if the equipment is damaged from a lightning strike or anything like that, what does it actually cover?
So lightning strikes are not covered, but there are lightning protection devices on the tower to help reduce the likelihood of a scenario like that. Various parts along the way, surge protection devices to reduce the likelihood that additional equipment is going to be damaged. So in the event that a antenna gets hit, you would likely need to replace that antenna, which would be a couple $1,000s most likely. And then the equipment downstream, down that cable, you wouldn't have to worry about. That should be covered by the additional surge protection devices along the way.
Okay. And then what about the surges, power surges? Are they UPC protected, or, I mean, do you have equipment to
So
protect those?
yes, we do have UPSs, so it's the uninterruptible power supplies. So those are going to be the kind of first line of defense for the equipment. So they'll maintain power, and it's also going to ensure that power surges aren't going to impact the
Thank you.
equipment. Yep.
All right, we've got a motion on the floor, and are there any further questions here? Motion on the floor to accept both of these, accept the price of the tower, and to go forward and also making a commitment to include the warranty figures in future budgets. And so I'll say all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Is there anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. And thank the Motorola people, and I thank Magistrate Hounds and anybody else who's worked with him, Director Glass, to get this together.
Deputy Judge
And
Nuss,
Kevin Nuss, right.
huge,
Yeah.
huge part of this.
Right. And I will say gratuitously here that I'm 75 years old. I believe when I was 5 years old, my parents had a Motorola phonograph, big thing. And so Motorola's been around a long time, so it's a name I have confidence and faith in, and I'm glad we're working with you. So thank you. All right, thank you.
I believe they call those cave drawings, Judge.
Right. They're, all right, it's a company of substance and sustainability, and that's very important to all of us. Okay, thank you, guys. Next item here are, we have some actions here, board appointments, that would be under C.
Judge, you want to do personnel actions first?
Yes, right. I meant personnel actions here. I'm sorry to say, but we do have the resignation of Darrell Rhodes effective the 1st of October. Darrell, thank you, is here today. Understand circumstances have changed for you, and we do thank you for working with us and wish you the very best in the future. So thank you very much. Okay. The next item is an appointment. That's item D. We have 2 appointments to the Oldham County Library Board. We did, did we do both of these tried to do both of them at the last meeting, and we'll bring them up again. We were under a misimpression of how we would do this. There was some questions, so we'll go back and we'll do this again, and we'll confirm. I'd like to, first of all, appoint Jeff Dowd to a term to the Oldham County Board of Library Board for a term to expire October 1st, 27.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Any discussion on this? Magistrate Hawkins?
I wanted to follow up with what we were talking about last Tuesday, and I think the library trustee board appointment is, the whole process is arduous, cumbersome, I'd venture to say inefficient, and frankly, I don't think the state should have hands in our local board appointments. So if this were to be a vote for or against the process of coming to the candidate for the board, that would be a hard no for me. However, he's been clear, the judge has been clear about the expectations of the board candidates and of this board, and for the library in general. And as I stated last Tuesday, this candidate should be fine for the position. So it's the process was confusing, to say the least, and I think we've received clarity on the whole process now. So that's all I wanted to say about that, Judge.
Anyone else? All right. No further comments. All right. All in favor of appointing Mr. Dowd, please say aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Motion carries. The second is a reappointment of Michael Plumley to the Oldham County Public Library Board for a term to expire October 1st, 2027. I'll make that now recommendation. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion regarding Mr. Plumley? All right. Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Time now for the second public comment period in our meeting. Is there anyone here who would like to address the court at this point? All right, saying no one, I'm going to, see, is there any magistrate who has any updates or anything they'd like to add today? Magistrate Hounds?
Judge, I think going back to the library appointment thing, just for a second, we tasked the county attorney at the 11th hour to look at some documentation. I would encourage the court members to, if there's questions about stuff, that we get that question to the county attorney and allow him sufficient time to make a decision. Unfortunately, Mr. Baxter, we don't always have afford that availability, but I do appreciate that you were able to take care of that.
You're welcome, and I appreciate the comment.
Anyone else like to we normally go through everybody here. I don't know, we just did a few days ago, so anybody?
I have something, Judge.
All right.
I did too.
Okay.
I'm surprised. Do you want to do this, Mr. Jeffries, on that I-71?
Sure. I did send out from Jim Sellerman a link to the Zoom, the recording of the Zoom meeting that took place. I know last Tuesday we didn't get out of our court until about 6:15, so I don't think any of the magistrates were able to attend that. But my understanding is that, they had a good discussion. I haven't yet had time to review it in its entirety or whatever, but I think, they did have a lot of discussion about, what they want to, what is going to move forward from Highway 329 to Highway 393. I think they're going to expand it just like they did from Jefferson County line to 329. The next phase will be to expand it on up to 393. I'm hoping that, I think when that was set up, the senator at the time, our state senator, Ernie Harris, kind of set it up to do phases. And so hopefully we can get that all the way through LaGrange and expand that all the way up here to the LaGrange exit and improve those bridges out here, that kind of thing. But it's a slow process. When you say, a 6-year road plan, that doesn't necessarily mean a 6-year road plan. It took 40 years to build the East End Bridge. So, I mean, it's, it plods along very slowly. But I think, if you have a chance to review that Zoom document or whatever, I think there's some good information in there, some dates that were outlined as to what the next process, the next procedures will be. But I won't go into the details.
Where is that
here.
link?
I don't have that link in front of me here, but
I
it's,
just sent it to you,
Jim
Judge.
Solomon has it.
yeah,
Jim
I'll send
Solomon
it to
has
you.
it.
yeah, we sent.
All right.
Jim sent it out, and I forwarded it to everyone. So
Well, I'd hate to get I-71 expansion tied up with the length of time it took the East End bridges there 40 years.
Yeah, I know.
The last information I had, and I didn't attend that meeting, it was busy, but was that they're looking to be completed to LaGrange by 2029.
Correct.
I hope that's still the schedule, and that seems, like a long time, but it's, and they ought to be able to move much faster on the next section. We don't have that much rock, and we need it badly. We've had another accident on 71 this morning that is tied up, and it was about the 16-mile marker or so, and
well, what's nice about what's being proposed at 329 is that there's going to be a complete redesign of the 329 exit ramps and entrance ramps. With the quarry there at Brownsboro, that for those trucks getting on 71 there is, it's pretty tough because there's
Right.
a single lane coming up through there. That's supposed to be redesigned and hopefully going to improve that tremendously so that those trucks will have a ramp to come up, and merge into the traffic flow on 71 northbound a lot further up, and because that hill there is
yeah,
pretty
right.
rough.
That's and also, we're going to have a hospital built at that intersection, and there's going to be a lot of hospital traffic, ambulances, other things going in there. So that's critical, and we just need expansion. Need it now. Period. Manager Woosley, did you have a?
Judge, a couple of things. One, this past Monday, we saw this county really coming together. Everyone was wearing red in honor of Jake Luxemburger's birthday. I just want to say how proud that makes me as resident of Oldham County to see us all come together to support his family. It's a beautiful thing, come out of a tragedy, but it was a beautiful thing seeing the county come together. Second thing is the Parks Committee is going to have a special call meeting before next Tuesday's meeting. We believe it's probably going to be Friday at 10 a.m., but I need to confirm that. And we're going to be discussing the pavilion that we'd like to put down at Schumbach Park. So just want to let fiscal court know that that's probably going to be on our next week's agenda is approval for the next phase or the first phase of Schumbach Park. That's all I have.
Manager Jeffries?
Just one thing to finish up on my comments or whatever. Highway 53 in my district, from Ballardsville all the way to Shelbyville, they've started major work on redoing the drainage and redoing the road edges and whatever, in anticipating to start fairly soon to repave Highway 53 from Ballardsville all the way to Shelbyville. So that process is actively underway. Hopefully that they'll be able to get that project completed, before going into winter. So.
Right. It'd be nice if they replaced the first bridge you come to
I
out
know,
there. It's
yeah.
been there since 1937.
I agree.
That seems like it's
We're working on that.
long enough, Manager Hawkins.
I wanted to reiterate with what our solid waste coordinator had mentioned earlier about Saturday, October 7th is the household hazardous waste collection event, and that it's at the road department, which is by the Y in Buckner, and from 9 to 3. So that's
All right, thank you. Measure Logston.
Yes, Judge, just for clarification, could you have somebody come next Tuesday from, and tell us about how the hot traffic alert works?
What?
How the hot traffic, how our the text alert we get on I-71. I mean, I saw at 5:30, 6 o'clock this morning that I-71 was shut down. I didn't get a text alert till like almost 7:20. I'd just like to know how that works. Why is
Mr.
there
Likens,
such a delay?
the hot alert
behind
comes
that?
out of post 5. That's the Henry Owen Trimble. So
I'm
it's
sorry?
the hot, when it says the hot alert, that is the Henry Owen Trimble notifications you're getting out of post 5. And then Oldham County's it's the same system, but you may have signed up for 2 different ones. If there actually says hot alert, it's coming out of post 5.
Well, I know the one from Oldham County is always delayed too. So I just don't know why we're delayed. You can get it off the television and radio faster than we can get it off ours. And I just think we need to have somebody come and talk about it, how it's done.
Okay, well, I don't know. I think there's there's a coordination effort there between law enforcement and dispatch to put that notification out. And
Well, I just noticed
it
this morning.
depends where things happen. If something happens in Jefferson County that backs up here,
Well,
our
but
people may
this
not
was
know about
exit-
it for a while.
This was on exit, our mile marker 16, that's still in Oldham County. And I know that I was watching WDRB this morning at 6 o'clock, let's just say. And they had a red line that it was blocked then. And then I got also, like at 7, came across my my phone that it was shut down. So that's like an hour difference. So I would just like to see us, if we can get closer to
Judge,
that.
I can address some of that because we had this conversation not too long ago, and Magistrate Logson, there's a couple problems. One is if that happens before the hours of 6 a.m., I'm sure that our current EMA director for a couple more days can address this, but our past EMA director would get absolutely pounded by phone calls if we sent out an alert before 7 a.m. People would call and complain and say, take me off the list. So if it happens, if somebody wants to make the judgment call that we're going to send them out as soon as they happen, it requires still to wake somebody up, somebody to log into the computer and send the alert. It's not automated.
So we're just going to work from 8 to 8 then?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the decision was made, and Director Glass, if he were here, because we had this conversation, I believe, and Director Rhodes can confirm this, that the 7 a.m. is when we're going to send those alerts thereabouts, because that's, if we send them before that, then we get bombarded with phone calls. Why'd you send me an alert at 6 a.m.? It's not a matter of when we want to work.
The weather
I
notifications.
believe, now maybe somebody
is
correct me if I'm
is
wrong
automated.
on this, Darrell, maybe you know, where our smart 911 system is not segmented to the point where you can tell us where you want to be alerted to an accident. So if we have a crash on River Road at 4:30 in the morning, do you, Magistrate Logston in Pee Wee Valley, want to get that message at that time? Probably not. But
I turn my radio or turn my phone off, so I wouldn't know.
okay, well, some people don't. I mean,
Well,
I've been.
I understand that,
Yeah.
and somebody somebody on that road would really want to know that.
Right. The problem with our system is that it's system-wide alert for an accident. I don't believe we can segment it to specific areas of the county. Am I wrong about that or incorrect? Yeah. I'm saying if there's an accident on 71, but I don't care because I never go on 71, I'm not able to opt out of those 71 notifications. Regardless of where I live, I'm going to get that notification, even though I always go on 42. I'm going to hear about the 71. So there is I understand. I've been called early in the morning in the past, and I wonder why in the world is somebody calling me at 4 o'clock to tell me something. It's kind of, and I can see where a lot of people would react negatively if it's too early. But I understand your point too. We're not particularly timely, but, you know, how you overcome that, I'm not sure.
I have one last thing, Judge. I saw it on television. For those of you that are concerned about the new strain of COVID, the federal government is giving away 4 COVID at-home tests. I did not, unfortunately, catch the exact, even the exact, I can't think of what the word, site to go to, but it's they're out there. And just so you know, when if you order them, you get them. It's free. They come United States Postal Service, and they'll have on there more than likely that the test is expired. But the CDC has moved those expiration dates further into the future. So it's going to say, if you want to save yourself a few bucks, there you go.
All right, I would like to mention before we close again that February 20th of next year is our 200th birthday as a county. I'm in the process of forming a bicentennial committee to organize and oversee and coordinate events that would be part of our bicentennial celebration next year. If any member of the court would like to be on the committee, please let me know. I think we're, accepting as many participants as we can to be on our committee. No one has a great idea, or no one has a good idea. The best idea, we're looking for ideas right now, not above stealing ideas from other communities that are 200 years or older. But anyway, we're going to try to do some things that recognize Oldham County. So happy to have any, and I will be coming back and asking for an allocation of funds for the committee. We're going to need, we're not going to be able to have a birthday party with no expense. So we're going to need something here. So we'll have to think about how we're going to approach that. Magistrate Tice.
Yes. You hadn't gotten down to us yet. You may
Sorry.
You may have forgotten us, and that's okay.
Kind of going ad hoc here today.
And I was kind of listening there. The response, which Magistrate Logston asked about, it starts at 7. Is that correct? Did I hear that correct? Is when you notify people, the response is starting at 7?
There was, at one time, there was a 7.
Can you come up to the microphone, Daryl?
Can you come to the front here? Our cameras and microphone don't work when you get way back there.
I guess what I'm asking, what is the policy today? We start at 7, or do we start at 6, or when do we start notification?
Currently, it is 24 hours.
So you'll get one at 3 in the morning?
Yes.
Okay.
There was a time where there was a limitation on it, and we noticed that that also included your weather alerts. So I don't know if you noticed, at 6 o'clock in the morning, you were getting a weather alert for a storm that had passed 2 hours ago. So that was removed, and we went to a current real-time notification. Now, today's alert, I got the notice. The only thing that is automatic is the Weather Service. The National Weather Service triggers an alert. It fires through the Smart 911 system. The traffic stuff comes from dispatch to EMA, and then EMA manually types it in. So this morning I was notified around 7 o'clock that 71 was shut down. As far as the traffic maps go, it may have showed that it was closed. It may or may not have been, but we were going from information from the county police, and I can check on, when I get back to the office, check to see if this morning it was actually shut down at 6 or it was just sort of bottlenecked.
So you're saying that had that you gotten the notification at 3 o'clock, you'd have posted it at 3 o'clock in the morning?
That's correct.
Okay, that's fine. So we are 24 hours, and apparently there is a disconnect with what you were saying, Magistrate Logston. And that's what I was just trying to clear that, because I got confused on what two magistrates
And there's
were saying.
some leeway. 3 o'clock in the morning, if a side street is closed, it may not be, it's really not that relevant. But it would be closer to 7 a.m. or 6 a.m. when the buses would be running. So that's when the notification would go out.
So there's a judgment call involved here.
To some degree, yes, there is a little bit. I can't say with absolute yes. If it happens at 3, it goes out.
But if it's a major traffic or something like that, it would go out at 3.
Correct, yes, sir.
Okay, that's all. That's what I was just trying to clear up in my mind.
Yes, sir.
And the number 2 thing that I wanted to say that I've heard about the tractor trailers at Crestwood Crossing.
Yeah.
And I witnessed it firsthand today. And I think we definitely have an issue there. And hopefully.
Or get out of here.
What?
What are you trying to say now?
And hopefully there'll be a resolution resolved to that thing before something really happens.
I've been saying it for years.
and
Close it. You
when
don't have that problem.
When you identify it and fail to act, that is poor management in my terminology. Wait just a second. Accidents will happen that we never saw coming. But when you see, like as just a pun, the train coming down the track, it's going to happen. And hopefully we'll correct that before something else happens.
Judge, I
and that's all I got to say.
I nominate Magistrate Tice to be in charge of the
That
train, Railroad Avenue
the
Committee.
Railroad Closing Committee.
Railroad
All
Avenue
in-
Committee.
All in favor of Magistrate Tice?
I think
Aye.
you hit a hot button there. The problem is I've organized at least 2 or 3 meetings over the years to try to talk about this with the state, Crestwood. We're third in line here. This is a state highway in a city street, in a city. It's not ours to decide what goes in there. I've offered our help, and our county engineer has tried to help. John Black tried to help. We've tried to put identify locations below the ground, or we could stick a pole in there with an arm. That's been done. Mayor Kramer resists having it closed. The state won't let you put only certain types of signs out. The flashing sign we do have there, the biggest one, is on private property because it's not approved by the state. I mean, we've done our part, and I don't want to shirk it. I'll be glad to stand in the front of the line again, but this issue has got other people that have the authority to do something that we don't have the authority to do something for, but we're trying to support whatever somebody will do.
And I didn't mean that we weren't third down the of priorities. I totally agree there's other people that are doing it, but as us, public servants or whatever, it never hurts to say.
Right,
Come on,
and I
guys.
failed to mention that CSX refuses to lower the line. They said it would take a mile of work to drop that several inches, and they have just flat out refused to do it, although there are photographs from the past showing that rail line much lower than it is today. They built it up an inch or 2 over the years, and every
Totally
time they
understand.
worked on it, and now it's snagging these. And I did see somebody sent me a sign recently. It was a good idea. It was actually a sign in Spanish that says, "Do not follow your GPS." Road closed. Yeah, I'll be glad to have a copy of sign made and put it down there, but I've got to find someplace other than public property to put it on because the state won't allow it.
Now, Judge, I'm gonna put you on the spot here for a moment. Wouldn't be my first time either.
Careful.
That's all right. There's 9 of us in here.
Snake bites
You,
back.
did you not? Aren't you the guy that went to see McConnell's wife about working on I-71?
Yes.
And you do feel like that you had some influence on getting that pushed through, didn't you? Or not? Be careful what you
I
say.
went to presented the problem, and later a solution came forward from KYTC.
Okay. Now.
So,
Wait a minute. Wait, I got.
I don't want to, I've never crowned myself. Other people have.
I'm giving you
said this
credit.
about me.
I've told many people I think you're the guy that got it done, and I'll give you credit every time. But this is the problem here. We've been together on this bench here now, over 12 years. I know for a fact that there's been times that you've had to ask for forgiveness rather than ask for permission. And there's been a few times that maybe you might have twisted an arm or two. Now you've reiterated many times to the magistrates that by God, I'm the county judge. And just hey, now have you said? Now when I start lying, you tell me, okay? why
Your
don't you
lips
just
are
get,
moving.
why don't, hey, well, yeah. Why don't you just get our road department, get a couple of barrier walls and go in and just block it? And then see who's going to come out and say, oh, we need to reopen this. And maybe they'll start listening to your case. It's what I'd do if I was sitting in that chair. I'd just do it and say, to hell with you.
Well,
Motion to adjourn.
yeah.
Yeah, you're going to let a Crestwood mayor and,
All I can say is it's awful easy for people who don't live in Crestwood to tell other people what to do in Crestwood.
Now, we got the two magistrates represent that area here. I don't know
You
if
just
they
heard
agree
from
with
one
you
of
or
them.
not.
I'd close it in New York second.
You don't, Bob, you live in Jefferson County.
There's going to be something happen down there. The truck's going to get hit. It's going to have some kind of chemical on it. And there's a school not more than 1,000 feet away. You're going to have a problem. And then when you find these people say, oh, God, don't close it like Magistrate Logston, then you won't be able to find them.
Well, I think our county attorney disappeared there.
Well, at least a train hasn't hit the truck on the track like it did in
I don't mind being sued
LaGrange.
publicly. I'm not interested in being sued privately. So, you know.
Well, I know if it can get done, Judge, you got my backing 100%.
Well, Judge, we might have trucks stuck on the tracks in Crestwood, but at least we don't have trains hitting trucks like they do in LaGrange.
All right.
We had one down there got hit.
Okay, anyway, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor, please say aye.
Mitch McConnell.